Amanda Lang joins us now. She's a business anchor, with BNN Bloomberg and the host of Taking Stock. And we are talking business. Hello, Amanda. Thank you so much for joining us.
Hi, Joanne.
Let's talk tariffs now, because it is the topic of the day, the week, the month, the year ahead, I'm sure. But it's going to have a specific impact on food and food production, we're hearing.
It could. There's a suggestion, I guess, as we all kind of scramble to try to figure out what might come, when in fact, there is one scenario where they don't come. So let's keep that in mind. There's a lot of uncertainty. But we do need to be prepared. And so people that are engaged in sort of thinking about the Canadian economy are suggesting that perhaps we will see an increase in domestic food production if we see tariffs on a lot of U.S. produced food. Now, I'm a little skeptical about how much that'll be for a couple of reasons. One is our food production is pretty specialized already. We mass produce a lot of things, and we're major exporters of those things like wheat and corn and soy. But could we produce avocados here? No, not really, unless I guess we do hothouse grown. I don't know. So that, how, to the extent that we could change what we do, that would be a very long-term reaction to tariffs. And I think it's everybody's hope that even if they do come, it's not like a multi-year situation where we actually change our production chain.
We're hearing, though, Amanda, whether or not we ever are able to produce these avocados or whether the tariffs come, there has been a lot of talk about retaliation across the globe, like Canada speaking out, China speaking out. What is the sense right now in terms of retaliations?
Yeah, I mean, in some ways, tariffs that might be focused on us are the least of our worries, because if the U.S. engages, and it has signaled through the first Trump administration, continues through the Biden administration, and will be renewed and upped in this new Trump administration, an anti-China, anti-trade with China kind of a policy pursuit. And they're talking pretty serious tariffs with China. Now, if that should happen, as a trade partner that does not want to get caught in this whole net of, we're importing cheap Chinese goods and then slipping it across the border under our trade agreement, we might have to match tariffs on China, or at least agree to support the ones they put on. That would be inflationary. It would be recessionary. It would be very bad for global trade. So, the tariffs are a funny thing because they can feel good in the really short term. He talks about it as an external tax. But of course, you're taxing almost immediately your own consumers. Your own consumers either have to produce the stuff at home more expensively or pay the cost of that product with the price of the tariff embedded. So either way, it's an inflationary thing, and it would be bad for all of us.
Yeah, and the question is does he himself understand how the tariffs actually work, and that they're that first domino that knocks the other ones down? Or is this just a lot of talk to get everyone, ready to negotiate? It's going to be interesting to see how this all plays out. Let's talk TD now, because they're still dealing with that money laundering scandal. So what's the latest? What do we know?
So what we know is that it appears that because that was such a serious, not just the fact of it, but the repercussions. So the U.S. regulators particularly are really hampering TD's ability to grow its business in the U.S. And so they needed to show how seriously they were taking this, both for the regulator, but also for shareholders, to be honest. And so they moved up the start of their new chief executive officer by a couple of months. They've apparently retroactively cut the bonus pay for up to 40 executives. We're talking tens of millions of dollars in total here, as a way of sort of really signaling how seriously they take this. People who are in any way who should have been kind of in charge of the bank or the operations that were affected here, are being penalized. And that really is a way to send the signal of, we take this seriously and we are trying to, send that message so that it's not going to happen again.
But just, I'm interested to get your take, Amanda, on, is the damage done reputationally speaking? I mean, this wasn't, a one and done type of situation for this money laundering. What is your sense on that?
Yeah, I mean, I would say I don't think it hurts TD's reputation in the sense that if you are a client of the wealth group or the investment bank, they are what they've always been. They're a super solid player. They're innovative. Everything you liked about them before is still true. These were, although they did end up operating at scale, and the reason why TD is culpable is their own internal risk management failed. They should have caught it, but these were bad apples. These were a few bad apples who managed to get a whole process going, and TD didn't catch it. That was sort of one group. The reason TD's in the doghouse, and this is the really serious thing for this bank, is its balance sheet is now impaired. So in the U.S., it's literally not allowed to grow in the way it could have grown previously. And so from the point of view of owning the stock or its ability to do, new lending and create new business, it is quite literally impaired. And that's a long-term problem, and there's no way around it. It's what the regulator decided to penalize them with. That's why you're seeing the luster coming off the stock for investors. But the bank itself, separate from these bad apples, is as good as it ever was. And hopefully there's another side of this for TD that they can get, through this and towards.
All right. Well, we want to end things off with the Bay here because there's questions about how long the Bay will be around. And it reminds me of, my youth, the Bay. Everyone loves the Bay. What's going on with the Bay?
The Bay does appear to be floundering a little bit. Now, the Bay, of course, is now owned by Richard Baker. It's part of like a much larger group of retail/real estate plays. It's not hard to imagine that the Bay doesn't, operate forever as a going concern as its operating company. And I say that only because years ago, the then last CEO of Eaton's said to me, when your operating company is worth less than your real estate, the writing is on the wall.
Yeah, that's true.
And of course, that's been true for the Bay for a while. So when does it happen? I don't know. I must say the symbolism of the Bay falling apart just as Trump is trying to make us the 51st state feels sort of awkward to me. So I hope they hang on at least long enough to get us through this period. Yeah,
you're right. I never thought. Yeah, it's true that if it falls at the same time, no, it's maybe too much for Canada to handle psychologically speaking as well. Amanda Lang, again, business anchor with BNN Bloomberg and host of Taking Stock. Thank you so much for taking the time and have a great weekend.
Great to talk.